Cold metal pressed against Jiho's bare skin. His eyes opened slowly, fighting against the harsh blue light that filled the room. Everything hurt. His head pounded like someone was hammering inside his skull. He tried to move, but his body felt heavy and strange. Where was he? Jiho blinked several times. The ceiling above him glowed with a soft blue color. It moved like water, rippling and flowing. That was not normal. That was not his apartment ceiling. He turned his head to the side and his heart started racing. He was naked. Completely naked. And he was lying on a smooth metal table in a room he had never seen before. Panic shot through him. Jiho sat up quickly, too quickly. His head spun and he nearly fell off the table. He grabbed the edges to steady himself. His breathing came fast and shallow. The room was large and round. The walls glowed with the same blue light as the ceiling. Strange symbols moved across the walls like living things. They twisted and changed, forming patterns that hurt to look at. In front of him stood a clear wall, like glass but not quite glass. Beyond it, shapes moved in the darkness. Jiho's hands shook. He looked around for clothes, for anything to cover himself. There was nothing. Just the cold metal table and the glowing walls and the clear barrier between him and whatever was out there in the dark. Then he saw them. Through the clear wall, figures emerged from the shadows. They were not human. They stood tall, taller than any person Jiho had ever seen. Their bodies looked like they were made of crystal or glass. Light moved through them in rainbow colors. They had too many arms, 4 or maybe 6, it was hard to count. Their heads were wrong, too wide, with eyes that looked like broken mirrors reflecting everything in fractured pieces. One of them moved closer to the clear wall, its eyes fixed on Jiho. He wanted to run, to hide, but there was nowhere to go. He was in a cage, a prisoner. More tables appeared in his view as his eyes adjusted to the light. Other humans lay on them, all naked like him, all unconscious. He counted quickly. 10, 20, maybe more. They were spread across the room in neat rows. A sound filled the air. It was mechanical, clicking and buzzing like a broken radio. Then words came, but they were wrong. The sounds did not match the meaning. It was like listening to someone speak through water. Specimen viable. Proceed to evaluation phase. The voice came from everywhere and nowhere. Jiho pressed his hands over his ears, but it did not help. The voice was inside his head somehow. A woman's voice screamed. One of the other humans was waking up. Jiho looked to his right. A woman sat up on the table next to his. She had short black hair and sharp eyes that looked around quickly, taking in everything. She saw the creatures beyond the wall and her face went pale, but she did not scream again. Instead, she controlled her breathing, forcing herself to be calm. Their eyes met. "Where are we?" she asked. Her voice was steady, stronger than Jiho felt. "I don't know," Jiho said. His throat was dry. The words came out rough. "I went to sleep in my apartment. Now I'm here." "Same," the woman said. She looked down at herself, realized she was naked, and her jaw tightened. Anger flashed in her eyes. "They took us. Whoever they are." More humans were waking up now. Confusion and fear spread through the room. Some people cried. Others shouted. A few just stared at the ceiling in shock. The crystal creatures did not react to the noise. They simply watched. Their fractured eyes observed everything with cold interest. One of them touched a panel on the wall outside the cage. The symbols on the walls inside changed color from blue to green. A new sensation hit Jiho. Warmth spread through his body. The pain in his head faded. His muscles stopped aching. He looked at his hands and saw small cuts he did not remember getting. As he watched, they closed and healed in seconds. "They're healing us," the woman said. She touched her arm where a scar used to be. Now the skin was perfect. "Why would they heal us?" "Because they want us healthy," Jiho said. His mind was starting to work again, pushing past the fear. You don't heal something unless you want to use it. The woman looked at him. "I'm Hieri. Jiho." They did not shake hands. It seemed ridiculous given the situation. More crystal creatures gathered beyond the clear wall. There were dozens of them now. They moved without sound, gliding across the floor like they were floating. Some of them carried devices that projected light images into the air. The images showed human anatomy, human cities, human technology. They were studying humanity. A young man on a nearby table started banging on the clear wall. "Let us out," he shouted. "Let us out right now." The creatures did not respond. The wall did not even shake from his hitting. It was solid, unbreakable. Hieri stood up. She did not try to cover herself. Instead, she walked to the edge of her table and looked around the room carefully. There has to be a way out, she said. Maybe, Jiho said. He stood up too, fighting the urge to cover himself with his hands. If they were going to survive this, they needed to stay focused. Shame and embarrassment would not help them. But first we need to understand where we are. The floor beneath them trembled slightly. A low hum filled the air. Through the clear wall, Jiho could see movement beyond the creatures. Something big was outside this room. He moved closer to the wall, trying to see more. Space. He saw stars, but they were wrong. The patterns were wrong. The colors were wrong. These were not Earth stars. We're not on Earth anymore, Jiho said quietly. Harry came to stand beside him. She saw what he saw. Her face went very still. We're in space, on a ship, or a station. They took us off Earth, Jiho said. The reality of it hit him hard. They just took us. All around them, other humans were coming to the same realization. The noise in the room changed from fear to desperation. People called out for their families. Others demanded answers. Some just cried. The mechanical voice spoke again. This time Jiho understood it better. His brain was adapting to the strange way it formed words. Human specimens secured. Initial assessment complete. Subjects display expected emotional responses. Beginning Phase 2 of Evaluation Protocol. Species designation Tier 7. Status pre-contact primitive. Recommendation: quarantine pending final decision. The words made no sense, but the tone was clear. They were test subjects. They were being evaluated, and humanity's fate depended on what these creatures decided. Jiho looked at Hiri. She looked back at him. Without words, they both understood. Whatever was coming next, they needed to be ready. They needed to survive, and somehow they needed to find a way home. The blue light in the room shifted to red. A door opened in the wall. The creatures were coming inside. The creatures moved into the room with silent grace. Their crystalline bodies caught the red light and scattered it into 1,000 colors. Jiho watched them approach. His heart hammered in his chest, but he forced himself to stand still. Running would do no good. There was nowhere to run. One of the creatures stopped in front of his table. It extended 2 of its many arms. In its hands, if they could be called hands, it held a bundle of gray fabric. The creature made a gesture that seemed almost human, offering the fabric to him. Jiho took it carefully. His fingers touched the material and it felt strange, smooth but also rough, warm but also cool. It was a jumpsuit, simple gray with no buttons or zippers. He pulled it on and it adjusted itself to fit his body perfectly. The fabric seemed alive somehow, shrinking in some places and loosening in others until it was comfortable. Around the room, other creatures were handing out similar jumpsuits to the other humans. People grabbed them quickly, grateful to be covered again. The woman named Hiri pulled hers on with quick, efficient movements. Her eyes never stopped watching the creatures, analyzing them. Once everyone was dressed, the creatures moved back toward the walls. A section of the clear barrier slid open with a soft hiss. Beyond it, a corridor stretched into darkness. The mechanical voice spoke again. Subjects will proceed to testing area. Compliance is required. Resistance will result in sedation. No one moved. Fear kept them frozen. One man, older with gray in his hair, stepped forward. "What do you want from us?" he demanded. "Why did you take us?" The creatures did not answer. They simply waited. Hiri walked toward the opening. She looked back at the others. "Standing here won't help us," she said. "We need to see what's happening. We need information." Jiho followed her. His legs felt weak, but he made them move. One by one, the other humans joined them. They walked into the corridor together, a group of 49 frightened people in gray jumpsuits. The corridor walls glowed with the same bioluminescent light as the room they left. The floor was smooth and slightly springy under Jiho's feet. They walked for what felt like hours but was probably only minutes. The creatures followed behind them, silent guardians making sure no one tried to escape. The corridor opened into an enormous chamber. Jiho stopped walking. His mouth fell open. The chamber was bigger than any building he had ever seen. The ceiling curved high above them, and through it he could see space. Real space. Stars burned in the distance, but they were not the stars of Earth. A massive red sun dominated one part of the view, old and dying, casting rust-colored light across everything. In the center of the chamber stood a raised platform. On it more creatures waited, not just the crystal beings, but others, so many others. There were beings made of light that flickered and danced like flames without heat. There were massive creatures that looked like they were carved from stone, easily 4 times the size of a human. There were beings that seemed to be made of water, their bodies flowing and shifting constantly, and there were things that Jiho could not even describe, beings so strange that looking at them made his head hurt. "What is this place?" someone whispered. A young man pushed forward through the crowd. He had sharp features and quick eyes that took in everything. "We're on a space station," he said. "Look at the construction. This is artificial, built. And those," he pointed at the assembled creatures, "are different species. This is some kind of gathering." Yeri nodded. "You're right. But why bring us here?" The mechanical voice answered her question. It came from everywhere at once, filling the massive chamber. "Welcome, humans of Earth. You have been selected for evaluation by the Velkrin Consortium. We are the peacekeepers of this sector. We determine which species are worthy of joining galactic civilization. You will undergo testing. Your performance will decide humanity's fate." The words hit Jiho like a physical blow. Humanity's fate. Not just their fate, but everyone's. Everyone on Earth. A woman near him started crying. "My family," she sobbed. "My children. What about my children?" Others began shouting questions. The noise grew loud and chaotic. The crystal beings, the Velkrin, did not react. They simply waited for the noise to die down. Jiho felt anger rising in him. They had been taken from their homes, stripped naked, and now they were being told that Earth's future depended on them. It was insane. It was wrong, but it was also real. "Listen," Jiho said loudly. The people near him turned to look. "Listen to me. I know this is terrifying. I'm terrified too. But we need to work together. If they're testing us, then we show them what humans can do." Yeri stepped beside him. "He's right. We need to stay focused." A tall man with kind eyes moved forward. He wore glasses that had appeared in his jumpsuit pocket somehow. "I'm Doyun," he said. "I'm a physicist. If they're evaluating us, it will probably be mental tests as well as physical ones. We should share our skills. Help each other." A woman with gentle features nodded. "I'm Minji. I'm a teacher. I can help organize people." Others began introducing themselves. Taehyun, a chef with steady hands. Sora, an astrophysicist with fierce determination. Minho, young and nervous but clearly intelligent. More names, more people. They were strangers, but they were all human. They were all in this together. The voice spoke again. "Testing begins now." The floor beneath them shifted. Panels opened and the platform they stood on began to divide into sections. Jiho felt the floor move under him. He stumbled but caught himself. Around him, the humans were being separated into smaller groups. Walls rose from the floor, clear like the barriers in the first room. The humans were being divided into teams of 7. Jiho found himself grouped with Yeri, Doyun, Minji, Taehyun, Sora, and Minho. They looked at each other with fear and determination. "First test, problem solving," the voice announced. In front of their group, a structure materialized from light. It was a maze of glowing lines that twisted in 3 dimensions. Symbols floated in the air around it. The same strange symbols from the walls. "You must guide the marker from start to finish," the voice explained. "You have 10 minutes. Failure results in pain stimulus." A small sphere of light appeared at one end of the maze. It waited. Doyen stepped forward, studying the structure. "It's a spatial puzzle," he said. 4 dimensions, maybe 5. The symbols are probably movement commands. 10 minutes isn't enough time to learn a new language, Sora said. She touched one of the symbols and it flashed red. A sharp pain shot through all of them. Everyone gasped. "Don't touch randomly," Yeri said sharply. "We need a system." Jiho looked at the other groups. They were all facing similar puzzles. Some groups were already arguing. Others stood frozen in fear. His group needed to be different. "Minji," Jiho said, "you're a teacher. How do you teach kids something completely new?" Minji understood immediately. "Start with patterns. Find what repeats." They began studying the symbols together. Doyen analyzed the mathematical relationships. Sora looked for astronomical patterns. Taehyun, surprisingly, saw the artistic flow in the symbol designs. Minho started testing symbols methodically, accepting the small pains to gather data. Time ran out before they solved it. The pain that hit them was worse this time, sharp and burning. But they had learned something. They had worked together. Around them, other groups had failed too, but some had fought among themselves. Some had frozen in fear. The Velcrin watched everything. More tests came. Physical challenges where they had to move through obstacle courses. Logic puzzles that required all 7 minds working as one. Scenarios where they had to choose between saving themselves or helping others. Hours passed, maybe days. Jiho lost track of time. But something became clear. His group worked together better than most. They learned to trust each other. They learned each other's strengths. And the aliens were watching. Always watching. After what might have been the 20th test, the voice spoke again. Interesting. Humans display unexpected cooperation. This does not match previous data. Analysis continuing. Jiho looked at Hiyeri. She looked back at him. Previous data? That meant they had tested humans before. That meant this had happened to others. The questions were piling up. But for now, all they could do was survive the next test. And the next. And the next. The evaluation was far from over. Sleep came in short bursts. The humans were given small rooms, barely large enough to lie down in. The walls glowed softly, never completely dark. Jiho lay on the hard surface that served as a bed and stared at the ceiling. His body ached from the tests. His mind raced with questions that had no answers. A sound made him sit up. The door to his room slid open. Hiyeri stood there, and behind her were Doyun, Minji, Taehyun, Sora, and Minho. They looked as tired as he felt. "We need to talk," Hiyeri said quietly. "All of us. Something is wrong here." They gathered in Jiho's small room, sitting on the floor in a circle. Their voices stayed low, barely above whispers. "I've been watching the Velcrin," Doyun said. He pushed his glasses up his nose, a nervous habit. "They're not just testing us, they're comparing us to something, data they already have." Sora nodded. "I noticed that too. During the last test, one of them referenced previous human responses. But we're the first humans here, right? That's what they said." "Maybe they lied," Minho said. He was the youngest among them, but his eyes were sharp. "Maybe they've taken humans before." The idea hung in the air like poison. Taken humans before. Tested them. And then what? Sent them back? Killed them? "We need more information," Jiho said. "We need to understand what's really happening here." Minji wrapped her arms around herself. "I keep thinking about my students. My family. Do they know we're gone? Are they looking for us?" "Probably," Taehyun said softly. His hands moved restlessly, the way they did when he was thinking about cooking, about creating something. But how would they find us? We're not even in the same solar system. The door slid open again. This time a Velcrin stood there. Its crystalline body reflected the room's light in sharp angles. The creature spoke, and the mechanical voice translated. "You are summoned. The Council wishes to address all human subjects." They had no choice but to follow. The Velcrin led them through corridors that twisted and turned. Other humans joined them from different passages. Soon all 49 of them were together again, walking in a loose group. They whispered to each other, sharing observations, offering comfort. The corridor opened into a new chamber. This one was different from the testing arena. It was formal, arranged like a courtroom or a theater. Rows of seats rose in tiers, and in them sat hundreds of alien beings. The crystal Velcrin occupied the center seats. The other species spread out around them. The light beings, the stone giants, the water creatures, and others that defied description. The humans were directed to stand in the center of the floor. All eyes and things that might be eyes focused on them. The weight of that attention was crushing. A Velcrin rose from the central seat. It was larger than the others, with more arms and more complex patterns moving through its crystalline body. When it spoke, the voice was clearer, less mechanical. "Humans of Earth, you have completed preliminary evaluation. Now you will learn the truth of your situation." A holographic display materialized in the air above them. It showed the galaxy, their galaxy, with billions of stars. But many of those stars were marked with symbols. Jiho recognized some of the symbols from the tests. This is the known galaxy, the Velkrin leader said. 7,000 civilizations exist within it. They are organized according to the hierarchy. 7 tiers define a species' level of advancement and their rights within galactic society. The display zoomed in, showing different star systems marked with different colors. Tier 1 species have mastered dimensional travel and energy manipulation at quantum levels. Only 3 species have achieved this status. Tier 2 have conquered death and disease. Tier 3 have achieved faster than light travel and colonized multiple star systems. Tier 4 possess advanced artificial intelligence and genetic engineering. Tier 5 have achieved basic space travel and unified planetary government. The display continued to zoom, now showing Earth's solar system. Tier 6 species have achieved space stations and basic interplanetary travel. Tier 7 species are planet-bound, divided by conflict, unable to leave their home world effectively. Earth glowed red on the display. The symbol beside it marked it as Tier 7. You, the Velkrin leader gestured to the humans, are Tier 7, the lowest classification. You are primitives who have barely touched the edge of space. Your species is violent, divided, and dangerous to yourselves and potentially to others. Anger flared in Jiho's chest. Dangerous? Humans had problems, yes, but dangerous. Another alien rose. This one was made of flowing light, shifting colors constantly. When it spoke, the voice sounded like music. We are the Mothrai. We have observed your species for 50 of your years. You wage endless wars. You destroy your own planet. You create weapons designed only to kill each other. How can such a species be trusted with the knowledge and power of galactic civilization? A stone giant stood, its voice like grinding rocks. The Greth agree. Tier 7 species must prove themselves worthy before contact. This is law. This has always been law. The evaluation determines your fate, the Velkrin leader continued. If you pass, Earth will be contacted officially. You will be given basic technology and allowed to begin the long process of advancement. If you fail, Earth will be quarantined. A containment field will surround your solar system. No one gets in, no one gets out. You will be isolated until you destroy yourselves or evolve beyond your violent nature. This process typically takes 10,000 years. 10,000 years. The words hit like a hammer. Trapped. Humanity would be trapped. That's not fair, someone shouted. It was the older man with gray hair. You can't judge all of us by the actions of some. We're not all violent, we're not all destructive. The tests determine truth, the Velkrin leader said coldly. We have evaluated 347 Tier 7 species. Only 12 have passed. The others remain quarantined. Doyen stepped forward. His voice shook, but he spoke clearly. How long has this evaluation system existed? 4,000 years, the Velkrin answered. And in 4,000 years only 12 species passed? That's less than 4%. That's not an evaluation system. That's a filter designed to fail most species. Murmurs ran through the assembled aliens. Some seemed surprised by the question. Others looked uncomfortable. The Velkrin leader's crystalline body flashed with angry colors. The standards exist for the safety of all. Primitive species are dangerous, they must be contained. Or maybe, Hieri said, stepping up beside Doyun, you just don't want competition. You keep species down so you stay on top. The chamber erupted in noise. Aliens spoke over each other in dozens of languages. The mechanical translation system struggled to keep up. The Velkrin leader raised all 6 of its arms, calling for silence. You prove your primitive nature with such accusations. The tests will continue. You will pass or fail, based on your actions, not your words. Dismissed. The humans were herded back toward their rooms, but as they walked, Sora hung back, moving slowly. Her eyes were fixed on a panel in the wall. She touched it lightly as she passed, so quickly that no one but Minho noticed. Later, when they gathered again in secret, Sora showed them what she had done. The panel was a data terminal. She had activated it with a simple touch, and now information scrolled across its surface. I used to hack systems for fun in college, she said. This is more advanced, but the principles are similar. I think I can access their database. Is that wise? Minji asked. If they catch you, they're going to trap humanity forever, Sora said. Her voice was hard. I need to know if we even have a chance. I need to know the truth. Doyen helped her work on the terminal. Together, they bypassed security protocols that would have stopped any single person. The data they found made everyone go silent. 50 years. The Velcrin had been visiting Earth for 50 years. Thousands of humans had been taken, tested, and returned. But those humans had no memory of it. Their minds had been wiped. And every single group had failed the evaluation. They're not evaluating us, Jiho said slowly. Understanding dawned like a cold sun. They've already decided they're going to quarantine Earth no matter what we do. Then why test us at all? Taehyun asked. Sora scrolled through more data. Her face went pale. Resources. Earth has resources they want. Rare minerals, specific biological compounds, water. If Earth is quarantined, they can harvest whatever they want, and no one can stop them. The truth was worse than they imagined. This was not about humanity's worthiness. It was about control and theft. We have to expose this, Yeri said. We have to tell the other species. How? Minho asked. We're prisoners. Jiho looked at each of them, his team, his friends somehow in this nightmare. Then we find a way. We're human. We adapt, we survive, and we fight back. Part 4, Human Ingenuity. The next test came without warning. Alarms blared through the station, harsh and piercing. The humans were pulled from their rooms and rushed into a massive arena. This one was different from before. It was dark, with obstacles scattered across the floor, and the ceiling was lost in shadows above. Combat evaluation begins, the mechanical voice announced. You will face other Tier 7 species. Victory is determined by elimination of opposing teams. Lethal force is permitted. Jiho's blood ran cold. Lethal force. They wanted the humans to kill. Lights flared at the far end of the arena. Another group appeared. They were not human. They stood upright like humans, but their skin was covered in scales that shimmered green and gold. Their eyes were yellow and slitted. Sharp claws extended from their fingers. They hissed at the humans, showing rows of pointed teeth. Plek warriors, Doyen whispered. I saw them in the database. They're a hunter species, aggressive, more lights. Another group appeared from a different entrance. These beings looked like insects, but massive, the size of humans. Their bodies were armored with thick chitinous plates. They moved on 4 legs with 2 more limbs that ended in blade-like appendages. Their compound eyes reflected the arena lights in 1,000 colors. Yinor soldiers, Sora said. A hive species. They worked together perfectly. The 3 groups stood at 3 points of a triangle, staring at each other across the dark arena. The aliens, watching from the safe observation areas above, waited to see what would happen. The Plek hissed again and charged toward the humans. The Yinor soldiers clicked their mandibles and moved to attack the Plek from the side. Both groups ignored the humans for the moment, focused on each other as the more immediate threat. What do we do? Someone shouted. Hayeri started to move toward cover, her military training taking over. But Jiho grabbed her arm. Wait, he said. An idea was forming. A crazy idea. We don't fight. What? We don't fight, Jiho repeated louder so others could hear. They want us to be violent. They want us to prove we're dangerous primitives, so we don't give them what they want. They'll kill us, a woman said, her voice shaking. Maybe, Jiho acknowledged. Or maybe we show them something they don't expect. The Plek and Yinor were engaged in combat now. The sounds of fighting filled the arena. The Plek were fast and aggressive, using their claws and teeth. The Yinor moved as one unit, perfectly coordinated, their blade limbs cutting through the air. Jiho started walking toward the fight. Every instinct screamed at him to run the other way. But he forced his feet to move forward. Behind him, he heard Hieri curse, then follow. One by one, the other humans joined them. They walked right into the middle of the battle. Stop, Jiho shouted. The Plek closest to him turned, confused. Its claws were raised to strike. But it hesitated, a human standing still, unarmed, shouting at it to stop. This was not normal prey behavior. Stop fighting, Jiho said again. He looked at the Yinor soldiers. All of you, stop. The Yinor clicked their mandibles. One of them spoke in a language that sounded like rocks grinding together. The mechanical voice translated. Why? This is combat trial. We must eliminate opponents. No, Doyen said, stepping up beside Jiho. We must survive the trial. That's different. They didn't say we had to fight. They said victory was determined by elimination. But what if no one gets eliminated? The Plek leader, larger than the others with darker scales, tilted its head. Explain. They're testing us, Yeri said. Testing if we're violent. If we're dangerous. But what if we're not? What if we work together instead? Impossible, the Yener soldier said. Species compete. This is nature. Nature for animals, maybe, Minji said gently. But we're intelligent. We can choose. The Plek leader looked up at the observation areas where the Velkrin and other species watched. Its yellow eyes narrowed. This is trap. They want us to fail. They always want us to fail. Then let's all pass, Jiho said. Together, silence fell across the arena. The three groups stood in the middle of the dark space, surrounded by obstacles and shadows. Above them, the watching aliens stirred. This was not going according to plan. The Plek leader made a decision. It lowered its claws. Very well. We try this human's way. If it fails, we die together. The Yenor soldiers clicked among themselves, their hive mind processing the decision. Finally, they too stood down. We agree. Cooperation experiment begins. What happened next confused everyone watching. The three species meant to fight to the death instead started talking. They shared information about their worlds, their abilities, their situations. The Plek explained they had been taken from their homeworld during a hunt. The Yenor said their entire hive mind had been sedated and transported. We have all been stolen, the Plek leader said. Its name translated was something like Rakesh, taken from homes, made to perform. Like laboratory animals, Sora said bitterly. Taehyun sat down on the floor. The others looked at him like he was crazy. He smiled and started arranging small stones he found into patterns. If we're going to refuse to fight, we might as well make it clear. Sit down. Rest. Show them we're not afraid. It was such a simple act, but it was powerful. One by one, humans, Plek, and Yenor sat down in the middle of the arena. They formed a loose circle. Three species that should have been enemies, choosing peace instead. The mechanical voice spoke, and this time it sounded uncertain. Combatants have not engaged. Test parameters violated. Please begin combat. No one moved. Begin combat or face pain stimulus. The pain hit all of them at once. It was worse than any of the previous punishments. Jiho's muscles locked up. His teeth clenched so hard he thought they would break. Around him, others screamed. But no one stood up. No one attacked. The pain stopped. The mechanical voice spoke again, but it was different. Multiple voices now, arguing with each other in the background before the translation kicked in. Unprecedented response. Council debate required. The arena floor opened and platforms rose, separating the three groups. They were taken to different waiting areas. The humans found themselves in a room with comfortable seats and surprisingly food. Real food, not the paste they had been given before. As they ate, the door opened. Not a Velkrin this time. One of the Mothrai, the beings made of light, floated in. Its form shifted from blue to green to gold as it spoke. That was remarkable, it said. Its voice was warm like sunlight. We have observed these trials for centuries. Never has a Tier 7 species chosen cooperation over combat. Why do you make them fight at all? Minji asked, to test for aggression, to see if primitive species can be trusted. But perhaps, the Mothrai flickered thoughtfully. We have been testing the wrong things. It left before anyone could respond. More tests followed over the coming days. But everything changed after the arena. The humans had proven something. They continued to prove it in every test that followed. When faced with a puzzle that required sacrificing one person's score to help the group, they did it without hesitation. When given limited resources and told to compete for them, they divided them equally. When shown images of disasters and asked to rank which to save, they refused to choose and said they would save everyone or die trying. Doyen's mathematical abilities impressed even the most advanced species. Minji's emotional intelligence helped them communicate with beings that had completely different ways of thinking. Taehyun's creativity led to solutions that the test makers had not considered possible. Sora and Minho worked together to hack into more systems, gathering information carefully. The humans were adapting, learning. But more than that, they were teaching. Other species started to notice, started to question. If these primitive Tier 7 humans could choose cooperation, choose innovation over violence. What did that say about the testing system? What did it say about the hierarchy itself? The Velcrin watched with growing concern. The humans were not behaving according to the data. They were not following the patterns. And worst of all, they were making other species question the established order. Something had to be done. The mechanical voice called all humans to the council chamber again. This time the mood was different. The tension in the air was thick enough to cut. The Velcrin leader stood in the center, its crystalline body flashing with agitated colors. "You have completed your evaluation," it announced. "The council will now deliberate your fate. You will return to your quarters and await judgment." As the humans filed out, Jiho caught sight of the Plek leader, Rakesh, in another corridor. Their eyes met. The Plek made a gesture, touching its clawed hand to its chest. Jiho understood. Respect, gratitude, friendship. Maybe. 3 different species, 3 different worlds, connected by a simple choice to be better than what was expected. Now they just had to hope it was enough. They waited for 3 days. 3 days locked in their small rooms with nothing to do but think and worry. Jiho paced back and forth in the tiny space until his feet hurt. Every time the door made a sound, he jumped, expecting them to come with judgment. On the 3rd night, his door slid open silently. Sora stood there, her face pale but her eyes bright with urgency. "Come quickly. We found something." "Something bad?" Jiho followed her through corridors he had memorized by now. They went to a maintenance area where the others waited. Minho sat at a data terminal he had somehow accessed, his fingers moving across the glowing interface. The screen showed files, thousands of them, scrolling past too fast to read. "What is it?" Jiho asked. "Hell," Minho said quietly. "We found hell." Doyen pulled up specific files. "We cracked deeper into their database. We found records going back 50 years. The Velcrin have been taking humans from Earth since 1975. Small numbers, careful abductions. They take people who won't be noticed or who can be explained away." "How many?" Hayeri asked. "Over 3,000, Sora said. Her voice shook. 3,000 humans have been brought here. All tested. All failed the evaluation." Minji covered her mouth. "What happened to them?" "They were mind-wiped and returned to Earth," Doyen said. "The Velcrin have technology that can erase memories completely. Those people went home with gaps in their memories, sometimes days or weeks missing. Most of them probably thought they had blackouts or mental breaks. But why?" Taehyun asked. "Why take so many? Why test them over and over if they knew humans would fail?" Minho pulled up another file. This one showed Earth from space, but with overlays marking different regions in various colors. Resources. "Earth is incredibly valuable. We have water in abundance. We have rare minerals. We have specific biological compounds that are hard to find elsewhere in the galaxy. Our planet is a goldmine." "The Velcrin want it," Jiho said. Understanding came like ice water in his veins. "They want Earth's resources. They can't just take them," Doyen explained. "Galactic law forbids harvesting from inhabited planets. But if a planet is quarantined, if the species there is deemed too dangerous to contact, then limited resource extraction is allowed for the good of the Galactic Consortium." "It's legal theft," Yeri said. Her hands clenched into fists. "They declare us too dangerous, lock us away, and then steal everything we have. And we can't fight back because we're primitive," Sora added. "We don't have the technology or the knowledge to resist." "Look at this," Minho said. He pulled up financial records. "The Velcrin have built their entire economy around quarantine resource extraction. They've done this to dozens of worlds. They find a Tier 7 planet, test the inhabitants, declare them too dangerous, and harvest their resources for thousands of years while the species is trapped." "It's genocide," Minji whispered. "Slow genocide. They cut off a species from the galaxy, take everything valuable, and wait for them to die out." Jiho looked at the files, at the evidence of corruption spanning millennia. Anger burned in him hot and clean. "We have to tell the other species. The Mothrai, the Greth, all of them. They don't know about this." "Some of them must know," Yeri said. "They can't all be blind." "Maybe not blind," Doyen said, "but complicit. Or too afraid to speak up. The Velcrin control the evaluation system. They control access to advancement. If you're a Tier 5 species hoping to reach Tier 4, you need Velcrin approval. If you're Tier 6 trying to reach 5, same thing. Everyone is trapped in the system." "Then we break the system," Jiho said. They spent hours planning. Minho and Sora worked to copy all the data they could access. Doyen analyzed the station's communication systems. If they could broadcast their evidence to all the species observing the evaluation, if they could show the truth, maybe something would change. The problem is access, Minho said. The main communication array is in the central command sphere. It's heavily guarded. We can't get there. Yes, we can, Yeri said. During the evaluation announcement, when they tell everyone our fate, all the species will be gathered in the council chamber. That's when we act. It's suicide, Taehyun said, but he was smiling grimly. But I'm in. We all are, Minji said. The others nodded. They had one chance, one shot to expose the truth before humanity was condemned to 10,000 years of isolation and slow death. The summons came the next day. All humans were to report to the council chamber for the final judgment. As they walked through the corridors, Jiho memorized the path to the command sphere. It was close to the chamber. Hyeri did the same, her military training evident in how she observed sightlines and security positions. The council chamber was packed. Every species seemed to be represented. The Velcrin occupied the central position, their crystalline bodies gleaming with satisfaction. This was their moment of victory. The Velcrin leader rose. The evaluation is complete. We have tested the humans of Earth. They have shown some surprising characteristics: cooperation, ingenuity, adaptability. However, these traits do not overcome the fundamental violent nature of their species. Images appeared in the air above the humans. Images of Earth's wars, its pollution, its weapons, nuclear explosions, battlefields, destroyed cities. This is what humans create, the Velcrin leader said. Destruction, death. They cannot be trusted with the knowledge and power of galactic civilization. Therefore, the Council has decided Earth will be quarantined effective immediately. The containment field will be established within one solar cycle. The humans present will be memory wiped and returned home. They will not remember this place or these events. Murmurs ran through the assembled aliens. Some seemed satisfied. Others looked uncomfortable. Any who object may speak, the Velcrin leader said. No one believed anyone would. Jiho stepped forward. I object. The chamber went silent. You have no voice here, the Velcrin leader said coldly. You are Tier 7, you are primitives. We're primitives who know the truth, Jiho said loudly. His voice echoed in the huge space. We know what you've been doing. We know about the 3,000 humans you've taken and tested before us. We know about your resource extraction operations. We know this entire evaluation system is designed to fail. The Velcrin leader's body flashed with angry red colors. Remove him. Wait, a voice like music said. The Mothrai who had spoken to them before floated forward. Let him speak. Let us hear what evidence he claims to have. Velcrin security was moving toward the humans. This was it. Their one chance. Now, Yeri shouted. The humans scattered. Not in panic, but with purpose. Half of them ran toward the exits, drawing the security forces away. The other half, including Jiho, Yeri, Doyen, Sora, and Minho, ran toward the command sphere entrance. Alarms blared. The station went into lockdown, but Minho had hacked the door systems. He threw open the entrance to the command sphere and they rushed inside. The room was massive, filled with holographic displays and control panels. Velcrin technicians scrambled away from the invading humans. Minho dove for the communication console. Sora helped him, her fingers flying across the interface. I need 3 minutes, Minho shouted. You've got them, Yeri said. She positioned herself at the door with Taehyun and several others. They had no weapons, but they had determination. Velcrin security arrived in seconds. They carried devices that crackled with energy, weapons meant to stun or kill. Yeri and the others stood their ground. When the Velcrin tried to pass, the humans simply got in the way. They didn't fight, they just blocked. The Velcrin hesitated, not wanting to kill them in front of the watching galaxy. 2 minutes, Minho called out. Doyen helped Jiho connect the copied data to the transmission system. Files began uploading, evidence of corruption, records of illegal resource extraction, communications between Velcrin leaders discussing how to manipulate evaluation results, financial records showing profits from dozens of quarantined worlds. 1 minute. The Velcrin pushed harder now. Energy weapons fired, hitting humans who cried out in pain but did not move. Minji was hit, her body convulsing. Taehyun caught her before she fell. More humans filled the doorway. 30 seconds. The Velcrin leader appeared at the door. Its crystalline body was now pure red with rage. You will be destroyed for this. All of you. Earth will be obliterated. Maybe, Jiho said, but the truth will survive. Now. Minho hit the final command. Every display in the council chamber, every screen on the station, every communication device connected to the Galactic Consortium lit up with the evidence. Thousands of documents, video records, audio files, 50 years of crime laid bare for everyone to see. The Velcrin had been systematically exploiting Tier 7 species for millennia. The evaluation system was a fraud. The hierarchy itself was built on lies and theft. Silence fell across the station. Every alien, every species, stared at the evidence scrolling past their eyes. Then chaos erupted. The station shook, not from weapons or explosions, but from the sudden chaos of thousands of beings reacting to betrayal. Species that had trusted the Velcrin for millennia now saw the truth. The carefully maintained order of the galactic hierarchy cracked like thin ice. Jiho watched it happen from the command sphere's observation windows. Ships outside the station began moving, repositioning. Some moved closer to the Velcrin vessels, aggressive and angry. Others pulled away, retreating from potential conflict. The space around the station became a swirling mess of movement and confusion. Inside the station was worse. Through the internal cameras, Jiho could see fighting breaking out in different sections. Not organized combat, but angry confrontations. Species who had been kept down by the Velcrin system now demanded answers. The Velcrin security forces tried to maintain control, but they were overwhelmed by sheer numbers. We need to move, Harry said. She was bleeding from a wound on her arm where an energy weapon had grazed her. Around the command sphere, more Velcrin security was gathering. They're going to storm this place. Let them come, Minho said. His hands never stopped moving on the console. I'm uploading everything to distributed servers across the galactic network. They can't stop it now. The truth is spreading. A voice filled the command sphere, deep and resonant like shifting tectonic plates. Humans, this is the Greth Collective. We are moving ships into defensive positions around the station. The Velcrin will not be allowed to harm you further. Another voice, musical and warm. The Mothrai stand with the humans. We suspected Velcrin corruption but lacked proof. You have given us what we needed. You are under our protection. Sora laughed, nearly hysterical with relief. We have allies. We actually have allies. But the Velcrin were not giving up. Through the command sphere's sensors, Jiho watched as Velcrin warships moved into aggressive formations. They were preparing to attack not just the station, but the ships defending it. They're going to start a war, Doyen said. He stared at the tactical display with growing horror. A galactic war. Because of us. Not because of us, Jiho said firmly. Because of their crimes. Because they refused to change. An explosion rocked the station. The lights flickered. Alarms blared at a new, more urgent pitch. The Velcrin are attacking the station, Minho reported. They're targeting critical systems. They're going to destroy it with everyone on board. They're insane, Taehyun said. They're desperate, Hyeri corrected. If the station survives, the evidence survives. We're all witnesses. They need to eliminate everything. Minji had recovered from the energy weapon hit. She stood up, shaky but determined. Then we need to get everyone off the station. All the humans. The Plek, the Yainor, everyone who's been trapped here. The evacuation systems are locked down, Minho said. I can try to override them, but... No time, Hyeri interrupted. She pulled up the station schematics on another console. Her military training came through as she analyzed the structure. Here, these are emergency escape pods. Small but functional. They're scattered throughout the station. If we can reach them and get the word out to all the captives, I can broadcast a message through the internal communication system, Sora said. Tell everyone where to go. Another explosion. Closer this time. The command sphere's structural integrity alarms activated. They had minutes, maybe less. Jiho grabbed a communication headset. Do it. Broadcast now. Sora's fingers danced across the console. A moment later, Jiho's voice echoed through every corridor, every room, every chamber of the massive station. Attention all Tier 7 species currently being held. This is Jiho, a human from Earth. The station is under attack. The Velcrin are trying to destroy all evidence of their crimes, and they don't care who dies. Emergency escape pods are located at the coordinates I'm transmitting now. Get to them. Help each other. Humans, Plek, Yainor, whoever you are, whatever you are, we survive together. The humans ran. They left the command sphere and sprinted through corridors that were rapidly losing power. Emergency lights created pools of red illumination in growing darkness. The station groaned around them like a dying creature. They found other humans fleeing toward the escape pods. An older woman was helping a younger man who had been injured in the earlier fighting. A group of teenagers moved together, holding hands so no one would be left behind. Jiho's group joined them, and they all ran together. They encountered a group of Plek warriors. For a moment, both species tensed, old instincts rising. Then Rakesh stepped forward, the Plek leader they had befriended in the arena. "This way is blocked," Rakesh said. "Explosions collapsed the corridor. We know another route." "Lead the way," Jiho said without hesitation. The Plek and humans moved together through the dying station. They picked up Yinor soldiers along the way, the insect beings clicking urgently in their own language. No one fought. No one competed. They just ran for their lives together. The escape pod bay was chaos. Hundreds of beings from dozens of species crowded into the space, all trying to reach the pods. Some were pushing and shoving, panic overriding reason. Others stood frozen in fear. "Organize them," Yeri shouted to Jiho. "We need order or everyone dies." Jiho climbed onto a piece of machinery so everyone could see him. "Listen, everyone listen. We can all escape if we work together. The Mothrai and Greth ships outside will pick us up, but we need to load the pods efficiently. Injured first, then young, then everyone else. No pushing, no panic. We're all getting out of here." It should not have worked. Dozens of species who did not speak the same language, who came from wildly different worlds, who had no reason to trust each other. But somehow it did work. The injured were loaded into pods first. The young followed. Then everyone else, organized by the simple principle of helping those who needed help most. Jiho made sure every human got into a pod. He made sure the Plek and Yinor were safe too. When only a few pods remained, he finally allowed himself and his closest companions to board. Their pod ejected from the dying station, just as another explosion tore through its core. Through the small viewport, Jiho watched the massive structure begin to break apart. Debris scattered into space, glittering in the light of the distant red sun. Mothrai vessels moved among the escape pods, collecting them with gentle tractor beams. Jiho's pod was pulled toward a ship that looked like it was made of solidified light, beautiful and strange. The pod docked smoothly and the door opened. A Mothrai waited on the other side, its form shifting through peaceful colors. "Welcome aboard. You are safe now." The humans stumbled out of the pod into a corridor that felt warm and welcoming after the cold brutality of the Velkrin station. Other survivors were being guided to different areas. Medical care was being provided. Food and water were offered. Jiho collapsed against a wall, suddenly exhausted. They had survived. Somehow, impossibly, they had survived. But it was not over. Through the ship's viewports, they could see the battle continuing. Velkrin warships fought against an alliance of other species. Energy weapons cut through space in brilliant colors. Ships exploded. Others fled. The carefully controlled order of the galaxy was burning. "What have we done?" Minji whispered. "Expose the truth," Doyen said. "Whatever happens now, at least everyone knows." A Mothrai elder approached them. Its form was more stable than the younger ones, held in a shape that seemed almost humanoid out of courtesy. When it spoke, its voice was sad. "The Galactic Council has called an emergency session. All species must attend. This includes you, humans. Your testimony will be required." "Will they believe us?" Sora asked. "They already believe you," the Mothrai said. "The evidence you released is undeniable. But now decisions must be made. About the Velkrin, about the hierarchy, about how to rebuild what has been broken. And about us," Jiho said. "About Earth." "Yes," the Mothrai confirmed. "About Earth. What happens to your species now will set a precedent for all Tier 7 worlds. This is the most important trial in galactic history." Yeri looked at Jiho. They were just engineers and medics and teachers and chefs. They were not diplomats or politicians. They had no training for something like this. But they were human. And humans adapted. "When does it start?" Jiho asked. "Now," the Mothrai said. "The galaxy waits for no one." The Emergency Council convened on a neutral vessel, a massive diplomatic ship that belonged to no single species. It was ancient, older than most civilizations, maintained by the collective will of the galaxy as a place where even enemies could meet safely. Jiho had never seen anything like it. The council chamber was impossibly large, able to accommodate thousands of beings. Representatives from every major species gathered in designated sections, their seats arranged in a vast spiral that descended toward a central platform. The humans were given seats in the lowest ring, usually reserved for observers with no voice, but this time everyone would hear them. The Velcrin occupied their traditional central position, but they were surrounded by guards from other species now. They were prisoners in all but name. The Velcrin leader's crystalline body had lost its confident glow. Now it looked dull and cracked. A holographic display appeared above the central platform, visible to everyone in the chamber. It showed the evidence the humans had released. Files scrolled past, each one a damning piece of proof. The chamber was silent as species after species saw how they had been manipulated. The presiding officer was a being Jiho did not recognize. It looked like living shadow, its form barely holding together, constantly dissolving and reforming. When it spoke, its voice was neutral, without emotion. This council convenes to address crimes committed by the Velcrin Consortium against Tier 7 species and against the galactic hierarchy itself. The evidence has been reviewed. The Velcrin leadership will now answer charges. The Velcrin leader rose. For a moment, Jiho thought it would deny everything, but instead its voice was hollow, defeated. We acted in accordance with what we believed was necessary. Tier 7 species are dangerous. They require guidance. The resource extraction was legal under quarantine protocols. We broke no laws. A roar of disagreement filled the chamber. The Greth representative, a massive being of living stone, stood with earth-shaking force. You manipulated the evaluation system to ensure species would fail. You stole resources under false pretenses. You conducted unauthorized abductions and memory alteration on protected populations. These are not legal acts. These are crimes against sentient life itself. The Mothrai representative floated forward, its form blazing with angry light. For 4,000 years you have suppressed advancement of younger species. How many civilizations could have joined us? How many brilliant minds were locked away on quarantined worlds? How much has the galaxy lost because of your greed? Other voices joined in. Species that had quietly suspected Velcrin corruption now spoke openly. Species that had been denied advancement demanded answers. The accusations piled up, each one more damning than the last. Through it all, Jiho watched in silence. This was bigger than humanity now. This was about the entire structure of galactic civilization. The presiding officer called for order. When the chamber quieted, it gestured to the humans. The humans of Earth exposed these crimes. They will now be heard. Jiho stood. His legs shook, but he walked to the central platform. Hiri, Doyen, Minji, Taehyun, Sora, and Minho followed him. 7 humans standing before the collected might of thousands of civilizations. I'm not a diplomat, Jiho began. His voice amplified through the chamber. I'm an engineer. I fix things that are broken, and your system is broken. He paused, looking around at the assembled beings. Some were curious. Some were hostile. Most were simply listening. You call us primitives. Tier 7, the lowest classification. And you're right that we have problems. We fight wars. We damage our planet. We're far from perfect, but we're also capable of incredible things when we choose to be. Doyen stepped forward. We're capable of cooperation across differences, of innovation under pressure, of moral courage even when it costs us everything. These aren't primitive traits. These are the traits that matter most. Minji spoke next, her teacher's voice clear and gentle. You've built a hierarchy that keeps species trapped. If you're Tier 7, you're dangerous and must be quarantined. If you're Tier 6, you're not advanced enough to be trusted. Every tier has a reason to be kept down. That's not a ladder for advancement. That's a prison. Taehyun added, we've spent weeks here, tested and evaluated. But we've also learned. We've seen how you organize yourselves, how you solve problems, how you interact. And honestly, you're not that different from us. You just have better technology. Sora's voice was hard, angry. You took 3,000 of my people over 50 years. You violated their minds. You stole from their world. And you were going to do worse. You were going to trap all of humanity forever. Not because we failed your test, but because you wanted what we have. Minho finished. We're here because we refused to be what you expected. We chose cooperation over violence. We chose truth over survival. We chose to fight back not with weapons, but with evidence and courage. If that makes us primitives, then your definition is wrong. Hieri spoke last. Earth doesn't need your permission to be worthy. We're worthy because we exist. Because we're sentient beings with hopes and dreams and rights. You can acknowledge that or you can continue to be tyrants. But understand this, we won't go quietly. We won't accept being locked away. And now that we know you're out here, we'll find a way to reach the stars no matter what you decide. The chamber erupted in discussion. Arguments broke out across the spiral of seats. The presiding officer called for order again, but this time it took longer to achieve. Finally, the officer spoke. The humans have made their position clear. The council will now deliberate and vote. First, on the fate of the Velcrin leadership. Second, on restructuring the evaluation system. Third, on the status of Earth. What followed was hours of debate. Species argued their positions. Evidence was reviewed and reviewed again. Votes were called on procedural matters. The humans sat in their observation seats exhausted, watching democracy on a galactic scale. Finally, as the red sun outside the diplomatic vessel began to set, the votes came. The Velcrin leadership is found guilty of crimes against sentient species. They are stripped of their position in the council. The Velcrin species is demoted to Tier 5 status and will be placed under supervision by the Mothrai and Greth collectives for a period of 1,000 years. The Velcrin representatives slumped in their seats. Their empire, built over millennia, collapsed in a single vote. The evaluation system is hereby dissolved. A new system will be developed with input from all tiers, not just the highest. Advancement will be determined by species' own progress, not by subjective testing. Resource extraction from quarantined worlds is permanently banned. Cheers rose from species that had been held down by the old system. The Plek and Yinor representatives embraced, celebrating their freedom. Regarding Earth and humanity, the chamber went silent. Jiho held his breath. Earth is granted provisional Tier 6 status, pending establishment of formal diplomatic relations. This is unprecedented for a species that has not achieved independent faster-than-light travel. However, the humans have demonstrated qualities that exceed their technological level. They will be provided with basic educational technology and access to galactic trade networks. However, advanced weapons technology will be restricted until further assessment. It was more than they had dared hope for. Jiho felt Hieri grab his hand, squeezing tight. Around him, the other humans were crying, laughing, holding each other. Furthermore, the presiding officer continued, the humans present will be appointed as Earth's first ambassadors to the Galactic Council. They will serve as liaisons between humanity and the wider galaxy. The Mothrai have volunteered to serve as mentors to humanity during this transition period. More cheers. The Mothrai section blazed with happy colors. This session is concluded. Let it be recorded that this day marks the beginning of a new era for galactic civilization, one built on truth and equality rather than control and fear. The chamber dissolved into celebration. Species that had never spoken to each other were now talking, sharing stories, making connections. The old order was gone. Something new was being born. 6 months later, Jiho stood in his apartment on Earth. The same apartment where he had gone to sleep and woken up in a nightmare. But now everything was different. Through his window, he could see the construction in orbit. Earth's first embassy ship being built with help from the Mothrai. It would carry diplomats, scientists, teachers, and artists to the galactic core, humanity's first official mission to the stars. His communication device chimed. A message from Hieri, who was at the training center where the new ambassadors were learning galactic protocols. A message from Doyun, who was working with alien scientists to understand faster-than-light mathematics. Messages from Minji, Taehyun, Sora, and Minho, all busy with their new roles in humanity's cosmic future. Jiho smiled. He was due to leave for the Mothrai homeworld next week, part of an educational exchange. He would learn their technology. They would learn human ingenuity. It was the beginning of something beautiful. He looked up at the stars. The same stars he had seen all his life, but now he knew what was out there. Thousands of civilizations, millions of beings. And humanity was invited to join them, not because humans were powerful, not because they had advanced technology,